Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here, and this video is a call-out post to the Sims team, formerly known as We Don't Do Hints. I see you, I see your game. And so of course, today we are going to be checking out some of the most obvious hints I feel we've ever got for packs in the Sims 4 lifespan. I first off want to give a shout out to Iron Seagull. Iron Seagull has been doing these types of videos where he looks into object descriptions from previous packs to draw assumptions about what we may be getting in the future of The Sims 4. So I am going to link Julian's channel down below and also his latest one of these types of videos. But I actually had the idea to record this because as I've been playing Growing Together, I have realized that I don't know why I'm saying we collectively, I'm trying to put the blame on you as much as the blame is on me, have missed some huge hints about The Sims 4 Horse Ranch. Just a quick little disclaimer before we get into this. I feel like I have to say this before like any theory video or anything like that. None of this is confirmed. This is purely speculation on my part, kind of drawing my own assumptions based on the items that we received in the last two expansions. Please do not get expectations up because this is just a fun video for me to read into things and it doesn't mean anything. As an English graduate, a simmer, and also someone who is obsessed with Taylor Swift, I read far too deeply into so many things. First off is obviously this little whimsical dream sleeping bag. I feel like there's a lot of like dream and whimsy in a lot of these descriptions. I do feel like it could tie into one specific theme that I'm going to be talking about. There's a lot of sheep iconography. We also had this little sheep stool. It's called the unique sheep seat. Not very unique when we literally got sheep in the next pack. It's pasture bedtime. Won't fill them with sheer dread. I hate this. Honestly, how could I be so silly? Then obviously we have these two drawing sets. One of them is a literal unicorn and then the other one is actually a little horse. The names of these, it's quite literally called horsing around. There is a dinosaur and a fairy tale castle, which obviously we now know that we are getting a medieval castle. This makes me think that they wanted to do like that medieval castle kit, but they were just like, maybe we should let the community vote on it to see if they actually do want it. But the dinosaur may actually come into play with an idea that I've seen the community definitely discussing. And then next to that, we have the Eucornucopia of Clutter, Emerald Hills of a Distant Fantasy Land. I am a fairy truther. Fairy, not furry. We already got fairies in The Sims 4 Werewolves. And I mean, the company of a child isn't quite the same as a flaxen-haired elven princess, again kind of tying in to that like medieval theme. But for what it's worth, this unicorn isn't complaining yet. Did they know that all of the simmers were gonna complain that we weren't getting real unicorns? And then obviously we got this like little drawing board that again has a unicorn on it. It was quite literally spelled out in front of us, and then even on the back of it there is a horse drawing. Another unicorn, which is actually one of the like first day in school drawings that you can do. We have this little like suitcase backpack in Growing Together, which I honestly can't decide if it's meant to be a sheep or if it's meant to be a llama. And then finally on the brand new toy box that we got in Growing Together, we got a rocking horse, which is so unfortunate considering rocking horses weren't actually involved in Horse Ranch, which I'm really sad about. I so wish that we had got rocking horses both for children and also for toddlers. But moving on to the game pack that I am the biggest truther in, I am a believer that this is gonna happen. It may not be within the year of 2023. It may come 2024, but I am like 95% sure that we will get a fairy game pack at some point. I really like occults in The Sims 4. I feel like they are hands down some of the best occults. Yes, I'm not like a massive fan that they've been split up and they're not just like in an overarching supernatural pack. However, I feel as if the game packs go into such depth. I'm kind of like, you know what? Like, I appreciate that even though we have to pay more for this, there's actually feels like there's more to do in each of these packs. But the most obvious Sims from Growing Together is obviously this little fungi reality Inc. studio apartment. It is basically a little fairy house. This unit is a steal, kind of that like mischievous fairy. I do have a video up going into all the in-depth details of what I would love to see in a fairy pack, so I will actually link that at the end of this video. This studio apartment has been hand carved. I would love to see an update of the woodworking table, just this for the woodworking table, for only our most miniature fairy clients. Scenic staircase leads into a spacious front garden that boasts great views of the neighboring giant's backyard. Obviously, those are your regular Sims. The interior comes furnished with adorably stylized mycelium furniture. It's honestly giving Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, except this time around, they're fairies. The friendship bracelet making kit, which I might be reading a little bit too much into this one, but it actually mentions form a special sort of magical bond. With the context of the rest of the items, I'm like, could that potentially be pointing towards fairies? We obviously got this little fairy bear wearing a tutu and riding its own little magical unicorn. I've already seen people say maybe we just got like decorational unicorns in Horse Ranch because they are attempting to put like actual magical unicorns in a fairy pack. I don't really know how they would go about that though, because it would kind of feel like DLC for DLC. I wouldn't really mind it if, I guess, the powers only came if you had the fairy pack. But again, that seems like a lot of work for like magical abilities on unicorns that only some people will have access to when they could have just put it in Horse Ranch. With a unicorn as a best friend and a set of wings, Teddy is an inspiration to all. Then we obviously have this little like mushroom fairy house over here. We also have a princess, again, kind of tying to that medieval theme. Obviously, we know that a lot of the Sims team are really big fans of Princess Cordelia, so maybe this is hinting towards that sort of a pack, which we'll go into in more detail. Obviously, we got all of the tooth fairy stuff, which, I mean, isn't surprising when you can lose your teeth, but it does feel kind of on the nose that we got this like tooth fairy that you can't ever really see. It's just kind of a thing that happens, but it does kind of suggest that maybe we'll be getting like an expansion on fairies. And then I also found it weird that this random version 2 chair actually had, again, the word magical in its description. Like, it just feels as if these kind of tie themselves together because of like the magical themes that are running through these objects and their descriptions. With this kind of talk of medieval princesses, all of that, I have definitely seen some rumors of Simmers believing that we might be getting a time travel pack. I will say I don't really see this that much. I really tried to like scour through every single item of these last 2 expansions to kind of get like any hints of time travel, and I know that they talk a lot about, especially this like solidly built wardrobe that we just got in Horse Ranch. It says it will probably outlive the person whose clothes are inside it. This side table has if your family has been saving things for generations. Obviously, generations, ancestors played a really big part of The Sims 3 into the future. I might just be saying I don't really see this because I'm not really all that interested in a time travel pack. Like, I do think a medieval pack could be cool, but I would kind of prefer it as a spin-off, kind of like The Sims 3 medieval. Like, I thought that was so in-depth that like a Sims 4 medieval spin-off would be so sick. I just feel like a medieval or even a time travel expansion would kind of feel sort of cut off from the rest of The Sims 4. So I don't know, you lot should let me know how you feel about the idea of a time travel pack, a timeless piece. So there are a couple of objects that talk about generations. They talk about timelessness. Generations have potty trained their little ones on this potty chair and it's worked fine. Again, this could just be because of Growing Together and the fact that generational gameplay was like such a thing in that, even though Elders really didn't get that much. The most interesting in this is definitely this antique rug. I I cannot figure out for the life of me what these letters are meant to spell. But it says pass down through 5. Why is 5 in bold? Is that a hint to The Sims 5? I have no idea. Generations of proud owners. Oddly enough, there's no explicit branding on the rug, which has spawned many rumors surrounding its origins. The only remaining clue on the rug's underside, which houses the nearly shredded remains of a tag, if you stare at it long enough, seems to spell out L space NV. I don't know if that's meant to be another space and then K's. So that's like kind of a name. I'm thinking like Linvek or like something like that. And then LO space N. Maybe that's meant to spell out lone, and a rather conspicuous scratch along the same edge. I feel like this is a little mystery riddle that they've tried to tie in, and I don't actually know if anyone's ever like spoken about this or tried to come up with like what that could be. It definitely feels like a clue towards something though. I literally just realized it's a werewolf reference because Lunvik's lone. It's to do with Greg the Scratch. He's a werewolf. I did talk about dinosaurs a little bit already, but there's also this little like crafty piece and then also this like suitcase backpack, which both seem to have dragons on them, which again, kind of that medieval theme. There was a world that you could download on the Sims 3 store and you could actually own like a pet dragon. I think that personally would be quite sick. Not that I'm like super here for a medieval themed pack. Now, even though I don't really see time travel that much as like hints that we've received recently, I do definitely see space travel, and it's kind of a running theme, especially throughout Growing Together. Like, you might just say, well, you know, kids are interested in space, like a lot of kids want to be astronauts, and considering this pack was like very heavily focused on kids, it's not like surprising that there was a lot of like space themed assets for their rooms. But even in Horse Ranch, we still got a running theme of space. Obviously, I already know if you have Get to Work, you have access to 6am, which I absolutely love, but I do think it would be really cool to have like a full space themed world that you could live in. I know, I literally just said I could see medieval being like really restricted and cut off from the rest of The Sims 4. Space, I kind of feel like ties in a little bit more, even though it's very like out there. Astronaut is a base game career that you can have. They can travel into space and they get like pop-ups. Imagine if you got like offered to like live on a planet. Obviously, we received this little flooring and ceiling, which has little astrological like star constellations on it. This could be a hint that we may be getting star signs in the future of The Sims 4, which honestly, I would kind of love to see. I think they could definitely play a role in like the social compatibility feature that got introduced with The Sims 4 Growing Together. There are also an awful lot of objects that just like mention space. For example, this random plant from Growing Together says took time to grow into the space brightening. Like, I know these could potentially just be talking about like the space of a room, which like also makes sense, but the fact that there is such a strong space theme makes it feel like the team just tried to type space into as many descriptions as possible. Add some whimsy. There's that whimsy again to your space. We also have a lot of like space themed patterns. We had it on the Growing Together bed, the Growing Together sleeping bag. You've got stars on one of the Tooth Fairy posters. You've got this like little space towel from Growing Together. You got the rocket ship. You got this kind of space mini microscope, which I would love to see a mini microscope. Please, Sims team, I need it so badly. You've even got space kind of themed sheep stuff from Horse Ranch. You got this little moon nightlight. The Rancher's Rest single bed says don't have the space. No, I don't have the space yet, but I could potentially have space soon, Sims team, considering all these hints that you're giving me. Little like llama being abducted by a spaceship, which I know we already have space abductions if you have The Sims 4 Get to Work, but like, come on. And then really quickly, if we go into live mode, your kids can actually play on the treehouse, and the treehouse and the puzzles I feel like give some of the biggest clues to maybe what we can expect in the future. So we have play pretend fairy castle. Does that remind you of a theme that we've spoken of before? House is a bit like Growing Together. We'll get into it. And Space Explorer. Now, I know astronaut is a base game career, and I know that kids can be interested in space, but honestly, space at this point is getting suspicious. It's also starting to sound like it's not a real word, so I do feel as if I should move on. Now, we've spoken about time travel, but what about actual travel? So we all know The Sims 4 Snowy Escape introduced a brand new lot type. Those were actually the rental properties, which I really like. I like that you can have them in any world. I've always loved that aspect of The Sims 4, that you can travel between like world to world, and I know a lot of simmers are desperate for hotels in The Sims 4. People really wanted them in island living. I kind of saw why they weren't a thing, because that was definitely about like the culture of Sulani. Obviously that kind of came into play with Snowy Escape, with the fact that you could rent out a property there and you could go away on holiday in a world that wasn't just a vacation world like we had previously seen. But these are all the objects that kind of have to do with travel. So we have around the world in 80 bytes food stall, kind of self-explanatory. We have the just horsing around trailer. Horsing around, it has the same name as this horsing around with crafts. But obviously trailers are like very big in like tiny homes and also van life videos right now. So this compact trailer exudes Simstagram rancher life. And yeah, it's purely decorative. For some folks, it's all about appearances. So obviously you cannot use this trailer, like you can't live out of this trailer, but it definitely gives the vibes of like van life and roaming around, moving from place to place, traveling. We got some new city-esque little statues. Cities are so cool, you know? Maybe we'll be getting another city. We also got this little crafts thing. We've talked about the dragon when it came to like time travel or a medieval pack. This one is a little crab, so maybe another beach world. We obviously got the suitcases from Going Together, which are a big part of like stayovers. However, they also mention traveling. Going someplace, bring this suitcase. With all your clothes close at hand, stored in style, you'll never be left without a smile during your trip away from home. Or simply display your suitcase proudly to make sure everyone knows you are a cool family that travels so often. This little tropical island puzzle over here. Well-traveled suitcases. It sure was nice of your family to take such good care of these suitcases to pass down to you, but they don't even have wheels. Give these vintage suitcases a new life as some shelves and have more places to show off your stuff. The well-traveled gallery wall. Want to show off amazing art pieces collected over generations from your family's travels? This poster right here also mentions travel. Framed world travel poster. They tend to all have something that we already have in The Sims 4, so they don't give any hints as to maybe what new worlds are coming to the game in future packs. Like obviously this is based on Windenburg. You have one based on Strangerville. Is it Forgotten Hollow, or is that The Sims 3, the vampire world? And then finally you have one based on Mount Komorebi. And finally you have Aldo Caldo's nomad chair. He notably carried one of these chairs tied to his back across an entire continent. His trek started in the desert right outside of Oasis Springs and ended on the peak of Mount Komorebi. I know this is a fan favorite. I think a lot of people would be happy if we got like a travel based hotel expansion, but I would love to hear your thoughts on that one. I don't really know what else people want when it comes to hotels. If we were getting like a travel pack, I haven't really heard any other like ideas floating around of what people would want that to be. Speaking of travel, obviously a couple of things have a reference like a desert island. We obviously had over on the Playhouse Castaway, which if you know, Castaway was a very big Sims 2 spin-off. I absolutely love Castaway. I had a love-hate relationship with The Sims 2 Castaway. I never really liked the console games that much because they really felt restricted in comparison to like, you know, my sandbox gameplay, especially when I was a child. Like following instructions and having to like read so much, I was like, this is boring. I got a little bit older. I absolutely fell in love with The Sims Castaway. Again, I think I would prefer a Castaway type pack as a spin-off like The Sims 2 Castaway. Maybe that's just like nostalgia talking. I don't again really know what they would do with with like either a pirate expansion or a castaway sort of expansion, because I feel like if you want to, you can already kind of play like a castaway challenge and you can add your own rules and restrictions like off the grid and all of that stuff. But it is funny that it does seem to be mentioned in Growing Together. That might just be because obviously San Sequoia is based on the Bay Area, the Bay, pirates, you know, islands. San Sequoia is a foggy place. Who better to navigate the foreboding obscured strait leading into the bay than Captain No? Does your child aspire to be the leader of the pirates? There's no better crew than Teddy's. Sail the blue seas with only the best captain by its side. A new world of adventure awaits. Kind of again tying in that traveling aspect. And then you have Castaway Teddy. Wilson? Wait, no, that's Teddy. Cast off into the sea of mayhem with Teddy's state-of-the-art raft, beautifully crafted by today's youth. Can Teddy survive the rocky seas with nothing but a shovel and grit? Only time and a little imagination will tell. This one is a shot in the dark. Honestly, this one is just me being hopeful. There's only one object that mentions this, and this is, funnily enough, the version 3. But it says you can all go kinder make yourself some friends or get a hobby. As you all know, I would absolutely die for a hobbies expansion pack. Please, Sims team, that's the only reason I included this, was to talk about my love. Give me pottery making, give me sculpting, give me architecture, and scrapyards like we had in the Sims 3 Ambitions. And finally, the showstopper. The one that I think I honestly would be most excited for, a band either game pack or expansion. Again, ties in well to the travel aspect. I again have a whole video talking about what I would love to see in a bands pack. I think the being able to travel from like world to world would work so well with bands. Like you could truly go on like a world tour once you've reached like the pinnacle of your career. Imagine like that tied into like hotels as well, and being able to stay in like the most lavish hotels with like casinos and things like that. That's something that could come in a hotel pack. But obviously the Rocking Rancher like extra pre-order bonus has an awful lot to do with the ideas of like bands, I guess you could say. So we got the Rocking Star. A lot of the rocking chairs obviously use rocking in their terminology. That's not surprising. It's a rocking chair. It's a very easy pun to make, but star quality rocking chair durability for use on your ranch. The Rocking Star has been stress tested to allow you to rock to up to 120 beats per minute. I think that's really important because it talks about like beats, and that's very like music themed. Obviously, we also got the guitar, which is the 63 Twilight Notes guitar. Is the rancher's preferred instrument for porch playing. We also got a brand new piano in Horse Ranch. What's also interesting though is the Growing Together rocking chair also kind of has this talk of like sound. Rocking around at the speed of sound. You'll be rocking 10 times the speed of sound guaranteed. Make these youngsters' heads spin as you reach rocking speeds they could only dream of. For example, dreams of becoming a rock star. Kind of ties into the dreams language that we've been seeing throughout some of these items. We also have this little sign that came with Growing Together, and it has a little piano on it. Kind of looks like an open mic night kind of situation, which I definitely think could be a thing in the game. And then finally, we have Centerpiece of Attention. This kind of made me think of a bands pack because obviously like front person of a band, it might steal the spotlight from the dinner you made. Spotlight, musical performances. It's kind of a little bit of a reach, but I definitely think that a bands pack could do really, really well in The Sims 4, and I desperately want it. This one's miscellaneous. I don't think there's really been any like hints other than like cars dotted around the world, like a lot more than I feel like cars have been, especially like petrol stations and stuff. But we have this little like puzzle that has a little car, and I know I talked about puzzles being like a really big hint, but I truly just want to show you. This is what gave me the idea for this video, because if you go to choose a puzzle, when you click on animals, you obviously have best friends forever, which I'm assuming is cats and dogs. I haven't done every single one of these puzzles. We also have feathered friends, which is suspicious because we don't have birds in The Sims 4. I really would love to see the return of having like pet birds, having pet turtles, lizards, but we also had fitness goats, grassland sheep, meadow mares. Quite literally the 3 animals that we got in Horse Ranch. It was literally right there in plain sight for us all to see. However, we also have a fantasy option. Winged unicorn. Dragons. Medieval. time travel. Guardian of the Forest sure sounds like an elven or a fairy princess if you ask me. And then sci-fi, it all has to do with space. Which I think is the biggest clue. Like, I genuinely think we're getting a space theme pack at some point in the Sims 4 lifespan. We have Beam Me Up, Cosmic Eclipse, Cyber Bunny 2000, Out of This World Party, Space Llama, Soaring Through the Stars, and Under the Milky Way. There are quite literally llamas floating through space. My brain feels out of this world right now. So there we have it. Those are all the potential clues I think that we have available to us right now. I just wanted to focus on like the two main expansion packs that we've recently received. I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this. Out of everything that I've kind of gone through out of these packs, what would you most like to see? And also, what are the details of the things you would like to see when it came to these packs? Like, for example, if we were getting like a space travel based pack, what sort of gameplay would you love to see? Also, please do keep in mind all of this is speculation. Absolutely none of this is confirmed. I just thought this was an interesting video to make after noticing just how many hints we got towards Horse Ranch from growing together, and like how everything feels like a very specific choice, which I find super interesting. Sims team, if you are watching this, can we get rid of the we don't do hints? Because I very much think you lot are doing hints. If you were a Ken, your job would be hints. I appreciate you all so much, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.